If you've been scrolling through endless listings, reading a mix of glowing claims and vague best-of videos, and you still feel stuck on whether a fuel tank combo is worth the space in your truck or trailer, this review is here to clear that up. I've spent the last few weeks talking to a few fellow RV owners, off-road enthusiasts, and a couple of small farm guys who keep a generator on standby, just to see how a 60-gallon auxiliary tank with an attached toolbox actually fits into real life. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the RDS MFG Inc. 72548 isn't just a metal can you bolt onto a frame. It's marketed as a combo unit that merges a 60-gallon fuel reservoir with a built-in toolbox. That design choice solves a very specific problem. When you're traveling or working in remote spots, you often end up with a toolbox taking up a separate spot and a spare fuel can taking another. The RDS unit tries to combine those into one footprint, saving you a bit of cargo space and a lot of hassle. The 60-gallon capacity puts it squarely in the long-haul category. You're looking at enough fuel to run a medium-sized RV for a full weekend, a boat engine for a day out on the water, or a backup generator through a power outage without constantly refilling. So who really benefits from this? If you're an RV owner who frequently finds yourself cruising the backcountry where gas stations are few and far between, the extra fuel can be a lifesaver. One of the owners I spoke with mentioned a trip through the Rocky Mountains where a single fuel stop would have left him stranded. With the RDS tank, he simply filled up at the first opportunity and had a safety margin for the return leg. The built-in toolbox is a bonus for anyone who already carries a separate box of wrenches, hoses, and clamps. You can mount it right where you need the fuel, keeping the tools within arm's reach when you're working on a generator or a boat engine. On the other side of the coin, if your typical driving is strictly urban commuting, or you already have a dedicated fuel can and a toolbox that sit comfortably in your garage, you might be paying for capacity you'll never use. The unit size and weight. It's a solid steel construction that ships with a heft you'll notice when you lift it onto a trailer. Can be overkill for a weekend camper who only needs a couple of gallons on hand. In those scenarios, a smaller portable fuel container plus a separate, lightweight tool chest would likely be more economical and easier to handle. Let's talk about the practical strengths that show up once you actually install the tank. The first thing buyers notice is the sturdy welds and the way the tank integrates the toolbox. The toolbox doors swing open without binding, and there's enough interior volume to hold a set of socket wrenches, a few hose clamps, and even a small fire extinguisher. It's not a luxury compartment, but it's functional. You don't have to climb onto the roof of your trailer to reach a tool you need while you're refilling. The 60-gallon capacity itself is a clear win. You can fill it from a single pump and then run off it for hours, which translates to fewer stops and less downtime, especially on long stretches where fuel prices can vary dramatically. The weaknesses are just as important to flag. Because the tank and toolbox share the same metal shell, any dent or rust on the exterior can affect both fuel integrity and tool protection. A few reviewers on Amazon noted that once they hit a pothole, the dent was noticeable and they had to patch it to keep the tank sealed. That's not a flaw unique to this model, but it's a reminder that you'll want to mount it on a relatively stable platform and avoid excessive vibration. Another point is the lack of an integrated pump. You'll need a separate transfer pump or a siphon system to move the fuel from the tank to your engine, which adds an extra piece of equipment to manage. For people who expected a plug-and-play solution where fuel just flows at the twist of a knob, this can be a disappointment. Installation is straightforward if you're comfortable with basic welding or bolting a tank to a frame. The mounting holes line up with standard trailer brackets, and the toolbox can be bolted down with the same hardware. The only real gotcha is the weight. A full 60-gallon tank of gasoline adds roughly 360 pounds, so you have to account for that in your trailer's axle rating and overall weight distribution. One of the farm owners I chatted with told me he had to reposition his rear axle slightly to keep his trailer level when the tank was full. That's a practical consideration that can't be ignored, especially if you're close to your vehicle's payload limits. Now, looking at the numbers that matter, the unit earned a 4.1 out of